welcome back to HERcast with Dr. Chito. As I said in the last episode, we're going to continue the conversation because the conversation was getting really deep, but we had to take a break and we're back to continue the conversation. So I'm here with Irene Bangwell, who I introduced in the last, but you can find more about her at raisinggirls.ng on Instagram. And we're here to talk more about the different questions that I've heard from moms ask or caregivers ask about puberty and the changes, especially the emotional, behavioral, and social changes that you see in teens. Like I said, the title of this episode is Tweens to Teens, Empowering Girls Through the Path of Puberty. So the topic says it all. We're here to get insights how to empower our girls through the path of puberty. All right, Irene, I know you were talking about body imaging, and I know you were almost about to say something extra when we ended last time. Do you want to say more on the whole idea of the concept of how our girls feel about themselves through puberty? Because puberty is not only a physical change, it's an emotional change, a mental change as well. What do you think about that, or we concluded on that?
I mean, body image is a conversation you can continue to have on, and it's a very important topic. So, you know, we're having a build-up from the idea where we start to tell girls it's about what's inside, you know, really what's outside. And girls start to compensate in other areas just because I don't feel beautiful, I have to work hard. So there's ambition driven to prove that, oh, maybe I don't measure up here, but I measure up here, which is all unhealthy. So it's a conversation that all parents need to embrace, that girls innately want to feel beautiful, want to be beautiful. So telling her that you won trophy in this and you're good in geography and you're good in other areas and evading the beauty conversation is not it. Rather we step back and start defining what beauty is. And I've stepped back to tell girls that beautiful for me is neatness. You look neat, people are at ease with you. I've taught girls that beautiful is the value you add to a place. And when I mean value, I don't mean intellectual. I don't mean ideas. I mean when you come into a place, are people at ease because you came? Do people feel better about themselves because your company is there? And I often use this illustration with my girls. I said, if they showed you a beauty pageant product who is absolutely toxic, gossips about her friends, and a regular girl, natural hair, just herself, who believes in her friends, who supports her friends, who are you going to pick as a friend? And almost without doubt, everyone picks the other person. And so I say that's humaneness. And then I've also gone to the point of telling girls that what they see on social media is really capitalism. Whether it's flat tummy, we need to sell the belt, or the gym product, or there's something. But I also tell them that let's pursue health, beauty for health.
Yes, health.
So beautiful for me is healthy. So I actually taught my girls this too. I told my daughter, who is on the slimmer side, I said, look, you could be slim and beautiful, and healthy, rather. You could be slim and healthy. And someone else could be chubby and healthy. But there's someone that is slim and unhealthy. And there's a whole lot of things around body shaming for girls that we need to pay attention to, including the girls that start to diet to their own detriment. And when we step back, we see that sometimes it's a search for validation.
True.
So I also get to the point of telling my girls, when you look in the mirror, love who you see.
Definitely.
Love who you see. And if you think she needs to be better in any way, it must not because you want to impress someone else. It has to be something you want for yourself, not because, you know, sometimes they tell women, when I was growing up, we say guys like chubby girls, and women were drinking Egovain and different things just because. And so I'm one of those people that say girls are not in this world to audition. They're not here to meet the criteria that a man is looking for. Girls are here to be decent human beings, and sometime along the way they'll find someone they're willing to share their lives with. And so when girls start to see that we are not in an audition, this extra thing that we do, for example, body image on social media is about likes and views and follows. So all these vanity metrics, we start to help girls to think through them and see how harmful it is to live a life that is a slave to those metrics, and just get to a point where, am I neat? Do I feel healthy? Do I add value? Is the world better because I'm here?
Me, yes.
Yes. So in doing that, do I have a smile that I like? Like I like to tell my daughter about this dimple she has. So I look for this feature that they have that I find absolutely stunning. And something Choma said that stood out for me, not in comparison. We need
Yes.
to know that comparison is also the biggest driver of body image issues. They have to compare to something or someone or a standard in order to feel not beautiful.
Yes.
So when we look at it holistically, again, it's conviction we're trying to transfer, not pick up moment. We're not trying to pick them up in that moment. We're trying to plant seeds that they can continue to meditate and think about over time.
Okay.
And so that's it for me.
I think that's amazing. Now, where does culture and society come in also as well? Because I know that we're in Africa, so we have our own culture. Cultural and societal norms do shape girls' experiences of puberty.
Yes.
We talk about when we're in an urban area, we can talk about how it is in the urban area, but girls are everywhere.
Yes.
And it does shape. So what insights will you have in navigating these influences in a positive and empowering way? Because sometimes I actually feel some of these cultural influences are not always that positive. This definition of what you should be as a girl. Cultural and societal norms do shape girls' experiences of puberty.
Yes.
We talk about when we're in an urban area, we can talk about how it is in the urban area, but girls are everywhere.
Yes.
And it does shape. So what insights will you have in navigating these influences in a positive and empowering way? Because sometimes I actually feel some of these cultural influences are not always that positive. This definition of what you should be as a girl, how you should be as a girl. And there's some even cultural processes like the fattening room that we see in Kaba, which I don't think it is. I don't know if it still exists.
I mean, I never saw it. I don't think
it still exists. I don't know, so I don't want to say the wrong thing here. But you see a lot of things that happened in the past when it came to puberty. And in some place, in some culture, even when you go through puberty, there's a celebration culturally.
Yes.
I remember when I was once working on the reserve in the U.S., and the Native Indians had a celebration that they normally experience when a girl first sees her period, or I think puberty, and they do a whole celebration around it. But here now in our climate here in Nigeria, because I feel our culture is almost similar around Nigeria. I don't know why I feel that way. Yes. What insight do you have? Because you have girls in your school who I'm sure are from different parts of Nigeria and the country. So how does this shape this journey of puberty?
So I think that first and foremost, one of the things that I have seen with puberty and coming of age, let me use the word puberty. Let's say girls become teenagers. Culturally, there is more focus on the responsibilities that she is now getting into, instead of the development of the woman she's getting into. So for instance, in plain terms, she starts to say, oh, you're not supposed to be responsible for this. You're not supposed to be responsible for this. You're not supposed to be responsible. Whereas this is also a time for us to discover her talent, her interest, her voice, her opinions. So for me as a parent, many parents even living in urban societies have cultural influences for what they want to see in their girls. When they go back home during the Christmas to the village, they have a village relative who's saying, why is this one not like this? Why is this one not like this? Why is this one not like this? So for me, I sit back with my girls to say, what is successful living for a girl in the 21st century? What should she be able to do for herself? And these are the things I need to start exposing my girls to, teaching my girls. And anything that doesn't add to that, it's not up for debate. So for example, people who visit my home know that you can't start telling my girls that they're washing dishes because they're going to get married. Come and learn how to cook so that somebody will marry you. Those kind of talk. You can't say it in my house because girl, you're learning how to cook so that you can eat decent meals.
Yes.
This one time I had a boot camp with girls aged 15 to 17, and we had this dreaming, visioning idea.
8 to 17?
3 to 17.
Oh, 3 to 17.
But the particular age group I was teaching that day was 15 to 17.
Okay.
So I asked them to design for me their bedroom, what their house would look like before they got married. There may have been about 28 girls on the call. They have no space in their brain for life before marriage because we've given them a cycle. You finish secondary school, you get to university, and you marry. In reality, is that truth?
No.
And I told them, oh, sweetheart, there's life, a lot of life, actually, before you marry. And that life determines the quality of the later on. So you like to dance, so design a house where you would live, where you have a dance studio in your house. Girls don't understand what prosperity looks like before they marry. So do you get that kind of, so I think that during puberty is a time where we have those kind of conversations. Where do you want to live? Where do you want to go? When you want to date, how do you know you're ready to date? How do you know you're in a safe dating relationship? So culture makes it look as if there's no process, or the process does not require each girl's opinion. It's just, this is what we expect of you, this is what we expect of you. But reality says, girl, you're going to make a lot of decisions along the way. True. And I want to prepare you for those decisions that you're going to be making. And marriage is not necessarily one of them.
Wow. That's true. I mean, you're right. When you think of girls in the cultural context of Nigeria or Africa, really, is marriage.
Yes,
everything is just about marriage.
Yes.
And so, that adds that pressure, and they don't understand the process. Yes. I think that's really something that we should take in. Yes. Very much so. Now, one of the things when I was talking about puberty, and I'm thinking about, I have a teen. My teen is a boy. Yes. So I'm yet to experience having a girl. My girl coming up, she's just 7. Yes. But as a gynecologist, of course, I see a lot of teens that have different struggles and issues. And one of the things the mothers ask me when I talk about, look, you have to be able to support your daughter through puberty. You have to understand the emotions that they're going through, through puberty, because that's what they need at that point in time. Yes. But the question they're asking me is how? How do I support them? How do I provide guidance? How can I be guided, or whether to identify signs when they're struggling in this situation? Now, with your experience with parents and the school, what's your take on the how? Like, everyone tells you, do this, support. Okay, we can support, but how do I support this child?
So first and foremost, let's start with parents need to know what is happening. Yes. I love the fact that the preceding... No, I'm actually even looking at what's happening with puberty.
Oh,
what's
puberty.
Changing.
What's changing?
So, for example, this emotional sways, what is going on? And so I would usually tell parents that knowing what is happening and knowing to educate your child on what is happening, because usually what brings the confrontation is the child or the girl is going through some changes that she can't make sense of. The mother is not aware, but everybody's fighting over the symptoms. So, but if the mother knew what was going on and told the girl what was going on, it would be different. So let me give you a simple example. Okay. When girls get to around 9 years old, they start to have crushes. And when they have crushes, they want it to be reciprocated. That's what they hope for. And so they will write a note. And, that's every mother's nightmare. That your daughter wrote a note to tell a boy. Boys are not usually very expressive like that at the onset. So girls lead this pack. And so a mother is terrified, irritated by the child's reaction. The child here is hiding the idea that she liked a boy. They're making up all kinds of excuses. Somebody wrote it and put it in my bag, all of those kind of things. And it leads to confrontation. So imagine if a mother saw that note and said, Princess, you're going through puberty, and part of what happens when you're going through puberty is that you're going to like boys. Yes. It's natural to like boys, and you would want it to be reciprocated. But let's look at the long haul. The crushes usually don't last. So even if you want it reciprocated in a few days, a few weeks, you won't like him as much. He also won't like you. And you feel hot, you feel rejected then. Or you may like him and tell him, and he likes someone else. And again, you're going to feel hot and rejected. Let's come up with a plan where you don't necessarily tell him. When I come, give me the gist.
Tell me how you feel.
Tell me how you feel. Tell me what you like about him. So, do you get... I've given support because I've educated. So when my child feels what she feels, she's not confused about what is going on.
And she's not normal.
She's normal. She's not sneaking around. She's not sneaking around. She's not all over the place. It's not leading to things that... So for instance, if the school calls me and said they saw a note that my daughter wrote, somebody say, I'm going to defend my daughter cannot do that. I won't say my daughter did. I won't say she didn't. I will say, allow me to talk with her. I want to hear her side. I want to hear what happened from her. And in talking to her, I'll hear the needs that led to that decision. So I need parents to start knowing that the greatest way to support is to also recognize what your child is going through and the needs that come with them, with the season. Another point of confrontation parents have a lot is when they have older teens with chores. So there are stages for chores. When they get to teen years, they want supervisory roles. So for example, if you told your teenager, wash plate, dry it, put it on a tray, that's like 6 to 8 chore. Their brain wants authority. But if you say you're in charge of dinner, then let her determine what makes up dinner. We need to do this and do this. Then delegate to younger ones and do some. Gives us some power and authority.
Yes,
Because
wow.
during puberty, there's power tussle. So support is not necessarily, how are you doing? Let's sit down and talk. It's understanding, what do they need in this time? They need that allowance. They don't need me shouting on them when we're talking about issues. They need me to listen to them first.
Yes.
Right? They need me to air my views without being paranoid about it. They don't need me barging into their room. What are you? They want to see that I trust them. So even if my children do something that makes me question whether I should trust them, and I'm about to check on them, I'll tell them, you know, you're still trying to build your trust quotient with me. That's why I'm doing this. So they have to be aware of what's going on. But a whole lot of parents don't even recognize that puberty comes with emotional. When you talk about emotional changes, parents seem to think that
children start talking back angry. Period too.
Yes, they feel that. But you know, talking back,
it hurts.
But talking back, see,
that part hurts.
But
you know, a lot of patience.
So, but you know, talking back is 1/10 of all the emotional changes.
I know, yes, I know.
So there's the cautious part, there's the exaggerative interpretation of event.
Yes.
Whether it is negative, they make it bigger than it should
be.
Whether it's positive, they make it bigger than it should be.
Yes.
So it means that if you're supporting them through, and maybe your daughter says, everyone in school was just laughing at me, you go, all 371 kids. And they say, no, like, I mean, my classmate, all 18 of them, because chances are that it's not all. Say, well, just 3 or 4 kids. Say, princess, let's count the 3, 4. Mommy, do you know what other people may have had on their mind? Say, well, they were not bold enough to express it, so theirs don't count. So let's leave what they were saying, leave how they were feeling, focus on the experience. Many times, the talk back happens because you don't get me, you don't understand what I'm dealing with, right? So parents, you'll feel that if I tell you to come out now, you need to come out now. But his gaming was super important to him, and he wanted to come out in 5 minutes. So even if you know he takes a lot of time, there's a place of saying, you know, if I keep having to come, we're going to have to suspend the gaming thing. And I've seen parents who say we sat down with them and drew the rules. So if you want to have gaming time, we complete the chore. Now the child becomes self-led.
When we draw the rules, it's always easier. I find that when my son makes the consequences, we agree.
Yes, so we work
easier.
together. We work together. So those are typical ways we support, not necessarily, don't look for signs or when they're breaking down. Not all kids wear the signs.
You know, not all kids wear the signs.
So, but let's keep, the goal for me is keep communications line open.
Yes.
Judgment-free. And when we say judgment-free, parents think that we mean you can't tell your child what they did is wrong.
True.
No. It means we don't say, how could you do that? Judgment-free means, whoa. Okay, if you had to do this again, what would you do better? Compared to, how could you do this?
True.
With what I have done. And I'm looking at the parents saying, context, skill, circumstance, anything is possible. With a combination of pressure, even the child that you feel can put it together may not. So forget about it. How could you do this? It doesn't come. It's what happened.
Wow.
If you had this opportunity again, what would you do differently? Because also at this age...
This also applies to boys, to what you're saying. Yes,
because as we're having this
also
conversation, you need to remember what I said. We're transferring conviction.
Yes.
It can't always be what you said to them, next time do this. The child won't even remember, but if you ask them to think through what happened
and what they will
and start problem solving, they will find how they contributed, and they won't be feeling like it is you that they have to answer.
Yes.
I always like to tell parents that as we educate our kids, we have to make sure they don't go away with the idea that we are their worst nightmare, like the core consequence is what I'll do to you. The core consequence is what's happening in life. If your teachers find that you were dishonest, they don't trust you. Opportunities will come that they'll pass you over because they don't trust you.
True.
So no matter how I yell at you, it's not nearly as much as that real consequence.
True.
So we have to always keep the real consequence in front of our kids, and we're working with them to partner to ensure that we achieve a set standard so that they don't suffer certain consequences.
Definitely. I mean, I would like to add something too, because some parents don't realize that, some parents actually don't realize that children do go through depression and anxiety.
Yes.
And sometimes when you see, understanding those signs even through puberty, because hormonal changes in puberty, which I discussed, so you can go to the very first episode on puberty where we talk about understanding puberty, and we talk about all the different changes clinically and psychologically. So the emotional part can never be ignored as well. Some people ignore the signs of depression when the kids are low, they want to do things, or they isolate.
Yes.
especially isolate when they're normally cheerful kids and they just isolate.
Something's wrong.
Sometimes something's wrong. You need to dig deeper.
Yes.
And where you can't dig deeper, you need to seek professional help.
Yes.
And I always have to add that because, you know, I do other things like breaking the stigma of mental health, and saying that it's not a problem. It's something that they can work through, especially through puberty. It's mostly counseling and changing the thinking of the child and bringing them out of that. So I want to add that there because it's very important that parents understand that their child could go through a very difficult time with puberty and they need to seek help where they could not support that child.
Yes.
Now, I don't know where we are with, I'm trying to make sure we get into all the topics before time ends. Celebrating milestones. You know, one of the things that is very important for mothers, I think for us caregivers, I want to just keep on saying mothers, caregivers, is being able to celebrate milestones and achievements with their daughters throughout the journey of puberty. I know that people, as I said, culturally, they have some celebrations, but even us, like, you know, oh, you have a period today, you know. Just looking at the different changes of puberty, not as what is happening to me, as more as, oh, this is great, you're evolving into being a woman. What do you think about celebrating those milestones of puberty?
So my daughters have a word, they say, I'm growing. That's how we mark it. So we're able to mark when my first daughter had her breast buds, and then when the pubic hair started coming out, and then we saw when she had her first period. So I think that we should be a part of our daughters' journeys. I think we're better off today as parents. There's more knowledge available. When we're growing up, we had many mothers who didn't know what to say, who didn't know what was happening. But I think it's a bit better now.
Yes.
So we need to be excited about the things that our girls find exciting. For example, my daughter is going to be turning 13 in a few days. I'm so excited about it. And just showing that excitement gives her a sense of belonging, gives her a sense of, you know. So I think that it's something very important. It's a big deal. I tell parents that once, you know, you're the one that taught us on the camp 2 years ago. Last year, actually.
Last year,
And you told us that 24 months after your breast buds,
you should see your period.
So early this year, I started telling parents, look, we need to start preparing our period packs. So my daughter was home one day. She'd been having a bit of discharges, and I said, Princess, something is knocking soon. And I had got her period patch. I was so excited about it. So I think that being a part of that journey does something to their self-worth, that I am valuable to somebody. I'm valuable to some, you know. Don't make it look, are you the first person? No, don't dismiss it. It's a big deal. And so my second daughter started talking about her own a little bit, and we're also excited, and we'll always go, I'm growing, and it just gives them that sense of belonging. So I agree that we should celebrate milestones. Yes.
I know we're coming down to our end time now, so I believe that we've really learned a lot in these last 3 episodes on puberty, and I know that there may be questions. As I said, you know, questions can be sent to at Dr. Chito N or at HERcast podcast on Instagram. But also, you know, if you have questions for Irene, as she has said a lot of things in this episode, you could also reach out to her at raisinggirls.ng.
Thank you.
So that she can also address certain issues as well. So I know I've learned a lot just sitting where I am about how to empower my daughter or how to empower the girls that I either influence or I work with to be able to go through puberty as with confidence and with self-esteem. So I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I hope you continue to watch our episodes here on HERcast with Dr. Chito on Rapid TV channel 176 Startimes. We also do have our podcasts platforms, Apple, Spotify, and every other popular podcast platforms where you can listen to us on audio podcasts. And of course, you can also go to our YouTube page, and that is HERcast with Dr. Chito, where you can watch full episodes. Try to follow us and join this movement of empowerment, because we know we're making a change and we know that you're going to see our impact soon enough. Take care and have a great day or rest of the week. I'm signing out. Dr. Chito.